Hi everyone, for those who haven't met me yet, is Laura, the occupational therapist with the Caring for My COPD program. And my job is really around all of the day-to-day activities that you need to do from the time you get up until the time you go to bed. And a big part of that is getting up and getting around safely and so I do spend quite a bit of time talking with people about their balance and how well they can get around and their shortness of breath when they walk. And so that's actually what today's session is all about. This education session is around falls prevention and really preventing falls. Now I know the question can often come up, why would we talk about falls in a COPD program? And the reason for that is, unfortunately, individuals who have COPD are actually at a higher risk for having a fall than any other group of people. And that can be for lots of different reasons. One of the big ones being that you struggle with shortness of breath. And sometimes when you're short of breath, or maybe you're not getting the oxygen you need, you can feel dizzy or lightheaded, which will really impact upon your balance. I think the other reason why COPD can really impact on balance is that sometimes there can be maybe you're not as active as you once were, and so maybe your muscles, if you haven't been exercising or other things like that, may not be as strong as what they once were, and so that will also contribute to it as well. So I really like for us to take kind of a proactive approach, that even if you haven't had a fall, I just encourage you to have a listen and see how you could apply it in your day-to-day life to prevent a fall from hopefully happening. Okay. So I'll start by saying that falls are actually a fairly big concern in the community. When we're talking about the number of people that fall, about 1 in 3 seniors over the age of 65 fall every year. And then once you're over the age of 80, that goes up to about 1 in 2. So it's a fairly significant number of people who fall, and falls are actually the leading cause for injury-related hospital admissions for older adults. So certainly something that we want to talk about and be aware of and mindful of. Okay, I'm just looking at my notes, so bear with me. Okay. When we talk about things that cause falls, there are lots of different things. And so the good thing about that means there's a lot that we can do to prevent a fall from happening. Okay. When I'm talking and doing an assessment and talking about things that might make you more likely to have a fall, there's kind of 2 different categories that I look at. So I look at what we call non-modifiable risk factors. So those are things that might make you more likely to have a fall, and things we can't, but they're things we can't change. So those would be things like your age. Unfortunately, we can't change our age. Whether or not you've had a fall in the past. So having a fall previously makes you more likely to have another fall in the future. The other thing that is kind of, I put a little asterisk beside it when we're talking about things that we can and can't change, and that's our medications. So sometimes if people are on more than 4 medications, you can be at a higher risk of having the fall. The reason why I say we can and can't change that one is that, of course, we need medications, right? We need to be able to manage our health conditions. But if you have concerns about your balance, I do encourage you to talk with your pharmacist or your doctor and identify those balance concerns, because sometimes medications interact with one another and can impact on your balance. And your pharmacist or doctor can maybe make some changes to help with that a little bit. Okay. The things that when I'm talking about preventing falls, the things I really like to focus on are those things that we can change. So things like, our environment, what we're eating, the exercise that we're doing. We can talk about, okay, how do we reduce fear of having a fall? Our footwear, all of those things are things that we can work on and we can change to make you a little bit safer throughout the day. Okay. So, sometimes if people have had a fall before, you can become fearful of having a fall, which is completely understandable. And the other layer of that is sometimes we don't know why we fell. And so that can add another little layer of concern. And so what can happen, for those of you who have heard the energy conservation talk and some of our other talks around the cycle of breathlessness, there's a similar cycle around the fear of falling. And so what happens with that is maybe you've had a fall or you've had a near fall, you've kind of stumbled. And so there's that kind of fear or worry or just kind of that unsettled feeling when you're up and moving. But what that can mean is that sometimes without us really noticing it, we might tend to do less. Because the idea being, well, if I'm sitting in this chair, I'm not going to fall, right? But the risk with that is that our muscles can get a little bit more weak. Maybe we're not as strong. And so you're actually going to be more likely to have a fall when you need to get up and do something. And so I don't tell you about that cycle to scare you. I more tell it to you in that there's lots of different ways that we can break that cycle off. And that's part of where this talk comes from, is sometimes if we give you knowledge about things that you can do, even that can help with minimizing that risk. Sometimes people also tell me, there's certain activities that I just don't do or places I won't go because I'm afraid of having a fall. And so really, I would like, if that's the case for you, I would love to have a conversation with you on the phone about ways we can make those things a little bit safer. Okay. One way that we can break kind of that cycle is by keeping you active and keeping you moving. And I know right now with COVID-19 and needing to be at home, that can be a little bit more difficult than what it once was. And so there are Canadian guidelines for the amount of physical activity that we recommend older adults get per week. And that's actually 150 minutes per week. Now, I know that can be quite a lot. And so I encourage you to, instead of focusing on that number, is to just build more movement in throughout your day. Okay, you can break it into however you like. You can break it into half-hour chunks, 15-minute chunks, 10-minute chunks. Sometimes I just say, if you've been sitting for a while, just get up and do a little bit of a walk around your house. Just moving more, okay? Ideally, when we're looking at exercise and physical activity, there are a number of different types of physical activity. And so those are things like cardio, where your heart is going to be going a little bit faster with it. So that those would be things like walking, biking, swimming. Those are cardio exercises. Then there's also strengthening exercises. So those are exercises to build your strength. So, and your muscles. So for those of you who are exercising with our program, using the TheraBands or the weights, those would all be strengthening exercises. And then another form of exercise that I really focus on around falls prevention is around balance and doing some balance exercises. So in an ideal world, we would love for you to get a mix of all of those types of exercises to kind of give you a nice, well-rounded approach. Okay. I do also encourage you not to discount the day-to-day activities that you need to do throughout the day. So I know, again, it looks very different right now with COVID-19, but things like getting up and going to the grocery store, right? That is a lot of walking and lifting and carrying and putting things away. And all of that is movement. And so I just encourage you to think about moving and remaining active throughout your day. Okay. The next little piece that I enjoy talking about too is around those balance exercises. And sometimes we can build your balance and we can make you feel more steady and more confident on your feet through those exercises. And so if you are concerned about your balance, I do encourage you to reach out and give me a call, because I would love to go over some different things with you to help with working on your balance. Okay. Sometimes people may find that they just are really struggling in terms of the balance. And if that's the case for you, it may be worth considering something like a cane or a walker to make you a little bit safer. Oftentimes a good kind of guideline that I use is, when you're grocery shopping, if you're using a cart and you find that your balance feels better, you feel more confident in your ability to walk, you feel less short of breath, sometimes that can be a little bit of an indication that maybe a walker would be helpful for you. If that's the case, I'm happy to help you with that process and kind of do an assessment and help you along with that. The government will help pay for 75% of the walker for you through a program they have called the Assistive Devices Program. Now, unfortunately, with COVID-19, we can't access that program right now, but hopefully once things settle down, we'll be able to get back to that. Okay. But if you have a walker, which on a little side note can also be incredible for managing your shortness of breath. And I've actually done a little bit of a video on how to use a walker safely, which will also come along with this video as well. They can just be excellent devices for managing your shortness of breath, which will also help with your balance. Okay. When you're using them, the key is to stand up nice and tall, keep them nice and close to you, and not putting too much weight through the handles. Okay. Another important part of them is using the seat safely. And so that means always having the brakes on when you're sitting on the walker. Okay. So the next area that I always talk about when I'm talking about falls prevention is our environment and where we are and where we live and the role that can play on our balance. So in and around the home, there's lots of different things that can impact on our balance. Things like pets. Well, we love them and they love us and want to be close to us. Sometimes they can trip us. Things like clutter. Maybe you have cords running that you might trip on, or poor lighting, or you have to walk around furniture, or all of those types of things can be tripping hazards. And so when I send this video to you, I've also included a little bit of a checklist that you can take around your house. And the nice thing about it is that it identifies, it asks you to look at different things in your house and gives you some suggestions of ways to make life a little bit safer in your home. So it will ask you to look at, the lighting, and it will ask you to look at, do you have clutter? Do you have tripping hazards? Do you have scatter mats throughout? And if you do, it gives you some suggestions on what you can do to make life a little bit safer for you. Okay, so I do encourage you to take that through your house. Sometimes I can do home visits, not right now. Um, but those are the things that I look at when I go to someone's home to make sure they're safe. Okay. Um, I I realize how many times I say with these videos. I apologize. So next I'll talk about, there are lots of devices that you can use at home to make things a little bit safer, especially in the bathroom. So the bathroom is probably one of the most dangerous rooms of the house because of all the moisture and everything else in there. Things can get slippery. We can be honest, right? So there are a number of things if you're worried about having a fall while you're having a shower. Things like installing grab bars, getting a shower chair, a chair that's actually meant for the shower, not just any other chair. Things for around the toilet to make it easier to get on and off of. There's lots of equipment options to make your bathroom a little bit safer. And I do encourage you to give me a call about that because I'm happy to kind of brainstorm and talk through the different pieces of equipment that are available. Certainly one that I recommend the most is probably, well, the two would be a shower chair so that you can sit down in the shower, both for saving your energy and managing your shortness of breath, but also for your balance. And then grab bars. Grab bars are an excellent option that you just know that you have them there. I do recommend if you're going to get grab bars though, that you have them screwed into the wall of your shower. So that you can really know and trust them. Sometimes you can get some that have suction cups on them, and truthfully they're not my favorite because you can just never really trust that they're gonna stay put when you really need them. Okay, so please do give me a call if you have any questions about the equipment piece of things. Okay. The next piece that I often look at when I'm looking at safety and balance is footwear, and looking at what you wear on your feet because that will play a big role in terms of your balance. So when you're looking at your footwear, you want to have something that's closed in so your feet are going to stay put. So flip-flops, slippers your feet can slide out of probably aren't the best option. You really want ones that are gonna be supportive and that are gonna go really, that they're gonna stay put. You also don't want high heels, and so I'm sorry to make that sorry, but not sorry. I really encourage you to avoid high heels because again, they will really impact on your balance. Okay. One big part, of course, when it comes to balance and falls prevention is also in terms of the food that you eat. And so I will always defer to our amazing Katie, our dietitian, to give you kind of recommendations around eating and food and nutrition and all of that because she's truly amazing and so knowledgeable. But what I will say is that there are a couple things that you just want to keep track of when you're thinking about nutrition. So firstly, that you're drinking enough water and that you're not getting dehydrated because that can lead to dizziness and feeling lightheaded. Making sure that you're getting enough protein to maintain muscles and enough calcium to maintain strong bones. So again, I would absolutely defer to Katie, and I know that she'd be willing to have a conversation with any of you if you have any questions about that. But really just making sure that you're eating regularly and getting the nutrients and the nutrition that you need. The last risk factor that I often look at is around health conditions and other health conditions that might impact on your balance. And so I've already talked about, how COPD can impact upon our balance and the risk for falls. And so I do really just want to give another opportunity to say that managing our health conditions, whether it's COPD, whether it's diabetes, whatever it is so, so important in terms of our balance. Because, of course, when you're not feeling well and those things are not well managed, that's when you might notice that a fall is more likely to happen. So I encourage you to be meeting with your doctor and making sure those conditions are managed, taking your medications as prescribed, having frequent or needed follow-ups with your pharmacist and your doctor. Really doing all that you can to manage those health conditions. Okay. If you find that are you're having a difficult time remembering whether or not you've taken your medications and things like that, I do encourage you to talk to your pharmacist about that. There are lots of options to kind of help with that a little bit. One being the blister pack. And so that's where the pharmacist actually packages your medications for you and it kind of labels them like Monday morning, Monday lunch, Monday afternoon, Monday evening. And then you just pop them out and take them. The reason why that's nice is because then you don't really have to question whether or not you've taken them. You just look at it and know if they're there, I didn't take them, and if they're not, then I did. Okay? So really, really thinking about managing those conditions. The other part of managing your conditions is, having your hearing and your vision checked on a regular basis, probably every year. Both of those things will impact on your balance and your ability to get around safely. Okay. The final thing that I want to touch on before I let you go is really we want to do everything we can to prevent a fall from happening. But recognizing that sometimes, despite all that we do, a fall might still happen. And so I do encourage you to be thinking, to just think out a little bit of a plan. Like, if I were to have a fall, how would I get the help that I needed? Would I be able to get to my phone? Would I be able to call for my family member? Really, really thinking that out in advance. And so, and that might look like many different things. For some, that might be getting in a personal emergency response system, like it's called Lifeline, where you wear a necklace or a bracelet with a button, or they have some that senses your movement and it automatically calls for help. So that is certainly an option, and if that's of interest to you, please let me know because I have coupons. But maybe for others, that might be, carrying your cell phone in your pocket all the time. For others, that might mean, having a phone buddy that every morning at 9 you touch base, and if you haven't heard from them or you can't reach them, you call for help, right? Kind of setting a plan up in advance so that you can get the help that you need. Okay? In the back of your handouts, I have also provided a little picture and a diagram of strategies for getting up from a fall. The most important thing to take note of is to slow yourself down because you will likely experience a lot of shortness of breath. So I don't want you, if you were to fall, which I hope you never ever do, please take a minute to rest. Take a minute to do your breathing and then slowly work on getting up. The handouts that I provided goes over kind of a step-by-step instruction for how to manage that and how to do it. And I'm happy to go over that on the phone with you. Okay. After you've had a fall, I really encourage you to reflect on what happened. Reflect on, okay, maybe I wasn't eating properly. Maybe I was really short of breath. Maybe I wasn't feeling well. Maybe I tripped on something. I encourage you to reflect on what might have happened so that maybe down the road you can do something to prevent it from happening again. I also encourage you to follow up with your doctor. whether or not you feel like you've hurt yourself or not, I really encourage you to have that discussion and that follow-up. Okay? So that was a very brief overview of falls prevention. There's lots that we can work on together. And so if balance is a concern for you, please let me know, and we can work on it together. Okay. Thank you so much. And again, I hope you're doing well, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.